today's lesson, we will go ahead and talk about math in Java. So from last time, all I've done is gotten rid of basically all of our variables in print statements and replaced them with these variables in print statements. And I'll explain them just in a bit. So I want to go over to our text file and basically just talk about the four main math operators in Java. So obviously we have our addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. And these symbols right here denote that. And Java understands these symbols, you know, as math operators. So I'll go over here and I'll explain what each of these variables stand for, and then we can run this code and I can explain it a little bit more in detail. So int add shows 10 plus 10, sub 10 minus 10, mult is 10 times 10, and div is 10 divided by 10. And I have these print statements down here that basically show the result. So addition should be 20, subtraction should be 0, mult should be 100, and div should be 1. Now, if I go ahead and I run this code, let's see what the outcome is. And as you can see, addition is 20, subtraction 0, multiplication is 100, and division is 1. And that's how you know that this is one way to use math operators in Java. You can hard code these numbers in here and have a variable equal to the answer and then just print out the variable. But another way that you can take this a little forward is by storing numbers in variables themselves. So instead of writing 10 divided by 10, we can just have 10 in one variable. And we could store it like this, for example. So here I have num1 is 6 and num2 is 2. And I have this code right here that says int end is equal to num1 divided by num2. And I'm going to go over here and I'll write a print statement that says, that should print out what the result of that is. And I'm just going to have that print end with no other strings attached. And I'll go ahead and run that. And you should see 3, and yes, we do. So that's another way. What we can have is we can have 3 variables. This might seem a little tedious, but when we start to do user input and you don't want to hard code these numbers, that's when this method of using math operators becomes very handy, since you won't always know if it's 10 plus 10 or if it's 100 plus 10. So instead of hard coding it, that's where this method comes in, where you assign variables to every single number. Now, this is just the main for math operators, but one key concept in computer science is working with randomness. And that's especially useful if you're, for example, trying to make like a dice simulator, or you're just trying to flip coins. You can't hard code randomness. So Java has a method for that, and we can get random numbers through this method called Math.random. Math has to be capitalized. Random is lowercase, and then after random you need a set of parentheses. Again, as soon as I put those parentheses, random turns green and math turns blue, which basically indicates that the green one is a method. So Java understands that this is something that needs to be run. So right now I have math.random, but I'm not storing the random number that math.random spits out into a variable. So I'll go ahead and I'll store that in a double variable, call that double random is equal to that. And here we are. We'll just go ahead and write that random just to make it a little easier. And I'm going to go and delete all these other print statements just to keep our code a little clean and a little bit more readable. So I'm going to stay here, and I'm just going to have a print statement that basically prints out our random number. Now, you might be wondering why I kept this double and not int, and you will find out shortly. I'm going to go ahead and run this code, and it will spit some random number. And just to show that this isn't something that I hard coded. Just remember 0.96. We can have another print statement right here. I'm going to copy and paste this, and just going to let's see, copy, paste, and I'm just going to call this random one. There we go, and I'm going to have another print statement right here, but instead of printing random, it's going to print random 1. And if we were to run this again, you should see two different numbers, and here we are, 0.86 and 1.59 or 0.159. And so the way that Math.random works is it will randomly generate a double value, as you can see right here, between the values of 0 and 10. However, it will never ever be 10. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in our text document right here. So we're just going to write math.random, and so it generates a number from 0 to 10, but never generates 10, right? And so the way that in theory, the maximum number that can be generated would be 0.9999999 all the way out to as long as a double, or as many decimal points as a double value can hold. And so this means that if you want to say you want to generate a number between 0 and 10, right, what you would have to do is you would need to get a number from math.random, and then you'd need to basically multiply it by 10, so that you would get a number from 0 to 9.99999, and then you'd need to add 1, so then you get 10.99999, and then you'd basically need to round it down. So the way that you can round it down is by making that double, transforming that double into an int. And what we call that in Java, it's called, we can call that typecast. So I'll go over here and I'll give you an example how to typecast. So usually, as you can see, that math.random spits out a double value. And if I try to write int number is equal to math.random, and I just do it like that, Java's going to yell at me and say, hey, you gave me an int and I'm getting back a double. I'm trying to tell that number is an int and I'm getting back a double, and that's not going to work. So the way that we solve this is in parentheses in front of the math.random, we write int. And this basically typecasts math.random from a double value to an int value, which we can see through these parentheses. And so now if we have a print statement of this variable number, and instead of random 1, I'm going to type in number. Let's run this code, and so you will see two double values, and here we have 0. Let's run that again and see what else we can get. So since so the way that ints work in Java is that if you have a number, any decimal point, so any decimal will round down. So you could have 1.99999, and that will be equal to 1. Even though mathematically it should be 2, it will always be 1. And so here, in this case, we keep getting 0 because the maximum number generated is 0.99999, 0.99999, and that will always round down to 0. So the way to solve this is by having this typecast, but what we'll do first is, before we typecast it, we can multiply this value by 10, so that we can generate a number that is between 0 and 9. Now if I were to run this program, the maximum number that I should get is 9 and the minimum is 0. And here we have 8 as a value. We can run this again. We can have 9, which is the max. Well, I can run this multiple times and I'll get random numbers, but I will never get 10 and I will never get below 0. So I'm getting all these random numbers. 0 again is the minimum, and so this is how you can use Math.random to generate random numbers that you can use for coin flips or for anything else like that. Thank you.